and I saw the evolution of women in the 60s and 70s and 80s, which was magical. It was really a lovely, lovely privilege to be part of that.
Hi once again, everyone. Welcome to Really Interesting Women, the podcast which explores the journeys of some unique, interesting and inspiring women. We'll look at how they've negotiated life's challenges and obstacles and how they've made the path a little clearer for those who follow. My name is Richard Graham, and my guest today has been described as one of Australia's most influential and powerful women. She's not only survived but thrived for well over half a century in an industry that is not always kind to its participants and practitioners. She was appointed a member of the Order of Australia, which was elevated in 2009 to a Companion of the Order, the top of the tree. She was awarded the Centenary Medal for service to Australian society and business leadership, is a former Businesswoman of the Year. In 2004, the government of Italy appointed her a Commander of the Order of Merit of the Italian Republic. Her awards and accolades are nearly endless. She's held numerous directorships, and her inspirational achievements have created not only an extraordinary life, but have been instrumental in putting the Australian fashion industry where it is today. Let me introduce you to the iconic fashion designer and a pioneering businesswoman, Carla Zampatti. Carla, welcome to Really Interesting Women.
Thank you, Richard. That sounds really wonderful. Thank you.
I sometimes lead off these conversations by asking my guests if they're doing what they thought they'd be doing when they left school. But from what I've read, you're doing what you thought you'd be doing before you started school in Italy. Do you remember the triggers at 5 or 6 years old that led to a career in fashion design?
I was fortunate enough to live in Italy and be aware that fashion was important to Italians. The way they present is vital. If you don't present yourself properly, you don't achieve what you want to achieve. So that was fundamental. I was aware of that. I had an aesthetic awareness of what was beautiful, and when my mother took me, I went with her to her dressmakers, to the workroom that they created beautiful fashion in. There were women in Italy at that time just had things made. Ready to wear wasn't available. So they were really fashion designers that created product for other women. And I was enchanted by the process. So much so that I said to my mother as we were leaving, that's what I want to be when I grow up. I didn't imagine I'd be a designer with boutiques and things like that. I thought perhaps I might be a good dressmaker or something.
As with a lot of immigrants in those days, your father came to Australia from Italy before the rest of the family to get a foothold in the workforce. That left your mother at home with the 3 children to run your farm, vineyards, family, etc. Were you conscious of her enormous efforts at the time?
Absolutely. I became aware that women did so much, and it was then that I decided I'd have a career rather than just be a wife and mother, because I thought women were very capable and should be recognized for what they do and can do anything. And so my mother really ran single-handedly that. And we all hopped in and helped, of course, but, I was pretty small at that point. My brothers were much more helpful. They were much older. But I was aware how hard she worked and how capable she was.
It's something that's obviously had an effect on you to this day, I'd suggest. Do you think that's the case?
Absolutely. Yes, it has. I mean, I was a feminist at the very early age, thinking, why do women do all this work and never get any recognition for it? I remember that passing through my mind. And I thought to myself, yes, I want to be a mother and a wife, but I also want to have a career. I want to do something that is, meaningful. And I want recognition for it. That's what I thought as a child.
You eventually immigrated to Australia as a young girl, And look, we have to talk Bullfinch, Carla, for our listeners. That's not swearing, that's just where Carla started life in Australia. I mean, I can't imagine it shared too much in common with Livorno, Italy, did it?
It was absolutely contrast. Hot and dusty, where I had left deep snow. The community was totally new, brand new. People came and went, didn't stay very long. There's my village. People lived there for hundreds of years. And so it was totally contrast, but I found it fascinating. I found it new and riveting and exciting. It was really, really kind of interesting. I fell in love with Australia immediately.
Wow. And look, no disrespect to its citizens, but I wouldn't think Bullfinch was a fashion powerhouse. But winding forward, your determination to be a part of that industry saw you move to Sydney and utilise your life savings to release a small collection of your own designs in 1965. And you had your first national launch a couple of years later. Now, for a designer trying to impose new or fresh new fashion ideas on a traditional, unadventurous fashion scene, your timing, being in the mid-60s, was exquisite. Was it an exciting time for you professionally?
It was a most exciting time. I think there was probably never a more exciting time, simply because women wanted to create their own future. They were taking the pill. They decided that liberation had come and they were better educated and they wanted to have a career. And I was there providing product for them to wear for that magic career. So it was a magic time. And I was part of it. I mean, I was a career person. In that time, I understood exactly what they needed. And so we went along together, and I saw the evolution of women in the 60s and 70s and 80s, which was magical. It was really a lovely, lovely privilege to be part of that.
What was it that got you that early attention? In other words, what did you bring to the design table that captured people's imagination?
Bold simplicity, I think, was the best way to describe it. I've never done anything that's frilly or fancy. I couldn't do it. I tried once and failed miserably. So mine was simplicity, and at the beginning it was a bit hard to sell, but eventually people got it and understood it and loved it and came back for more. So that was the at the beginning was difficult, but eventually when they kind of wore it, they realized that how wonderful it was.
You've always been determined to be financially independent. Why was that so important to you?
I think financial independence gives you freedom of choice, freedom of life. And freedom to me is the most important element.
Carla, you were also determined to do something no other woman had done, and that is to set up your own fashion company. Have you always set yourself big goals, regardless of whether it's been done before?
I don't think I was even aware that no other woman had done it before. I think a woman called Norma Teller had done it, a similar thing, and I had read her story in the Woman's Weekly, and I thought, wow, that's what I want to do. But it was nevertheless tough because banks didn't want to lend you money and suppliers didn't want to give you credit and so on. So it was really very, very difficult at the beginning.
So you had to convince them of your worth, for want of a better term.
I had to pay cash for the first few months and then convince them. And after my split with my husband, I had to do that all over again because my bank manager said, you're going to get remarried and you'll get this career up. And I said, no, I'm not. But I mean, there was no belief that women were going to stick to anything for long term, not a career. It was unknown in those days.
They clearly didn't know you very well because you actually set up your own boutique in Surrey Hills in Sydney to sell directly to customers without having to go through buyers from the big stores. Now, like, that doesn't sound like much now, but again, you were probably one of the first to do it. Why was a direct outlet to the public so important?
It gave me insight what women loved from me. It made me concentrate on the things that I was good at and that they liked me to do. And it was the best marketing tool that you could imagine. It was really, really very exciting to talk firsthand to customers to understand what their needs were. I mean, I was quite aware of what their needs were, but this made it even more so. And it also enabled me to show my whole collection. The department stores would buy one or two pieces, they'd be hung with other people, and they wouldn't be able to even find them. And so this enabled me to actually merchandise my product and to have first-hand information from my clients, which was very, very valuable. And I went on to open lots more boutiques after that.
In regards to that, is making brave choices a necessary part of your success?
I think it's really important to have courage when you want to set up a business. It does need courage. And you need to be determined. You need to understand that it's hard work. It's harder than anything else. I thought I worked hard for other people, but it wasn't until I was working for myself, trying to set up my business, that I couldn't sleep at night. And then I realized that, hard work, I then understood what hard work meant.
Right.
So anyone who succeeds in business, setting up their own business, has worked very, very hard to do that.
You've taken on many innovative projects over the years. So when you're approached to start a new project, what are your non-negotiables? What won't you compromise on?
I like new projects simply because I think it's better to try and fail than never to try. So compromise if it's something cheap and nasty or not aligned to my brand, not aligned to what I believe in, I guess.
In 1980, you won the inaugural Australian Businesswoman of the Year award, which meant so much to you. Why do you refer to it as such a standout moment in a career with so many standout moments?
I think it was crucial for the wider public for my brand to become better known to the wider public. It gave me the opportunity to design that motor car because it created attention. When Ford was looking for someone to redesign this car, the Laser, that was so popular with women, and women then were buying their own cars for the first time. And so I got that opportunity, and I spoke at the National Press Club. I met a lot of other women in business, so it really opened up my whole life. It also gave me enormous confidence that what I was doing seemed to be like a business, like right, because fashion was never regarded as a proper business until that time.
Right.
And so I felt that I was then running a business. I was running it efficiently, and I had the approval of people around me whom I respected, that I was doing the right thing. So it gave me enormous confidence.
It was by no means always plain sailing for you. There was a lot of hardship and difficulties and many challenges and hurdles along the way. You've written about the breakup, and you mentioned it before, of your first marriage, and that you had to give up your business basically while keeping the name, and you had to restart your life, and you did. And you write a lot in your autobiography, Carla Zampatti, My Life, My Look, about overcoming hardship and the importance of resilience. Many, many people face hardships, but for the benefit of those who continue with their own struggles, can you explain how you got through that sort of emotional and physical upheaval that you experienced, and why resilience is so important?
Well, I looked at my life. I had a baby of 9 months, and my life was a miserable one in that marriage. We're in partners in business, and I knew I couldn't keep on doing it. And I didn't want to bring my son up in that environment. So it kind of took a lot of courage, but probably more courage than I've ever had to draw upon. And it was tough, but it taught me that I was really, really strong and that I could do it. So I think you learn more from tough times than from good times. You learn what you can do. You learn your strength. And so I think if you get stuck in a corner, don't stay there, fight out, fight to get out of it. Find a way to get out of it, because I think it's really, really important. Once you're out of it and you're breathing again, you'll feel much, much stronger and nothing will touch you.
Yeah, I've listened to a number of interviews and read articles with and about women and their journey, and the word supportive is often used, as in they are or should be supportive of each other in business. Is that your experience, and is it important?
Very much. I belong to a women's group before CW, and I belong to CW also, which is also a very good group, where you can compare notes with other women. We're all facing the same issues. And I think it's nice to compare notes and to be able to feel that you can talk to someone when you're really feeling frustrated, and that somebody else is going through the same, that you're not alone. So I think to support other women is very, very important. I value that enormously. It has been hugely helpful for me, and I'd like to think that I can help other women too.
Is it important for women to be mentored by other women?
I think so, because I haven't been mentored, but I think we all, as I said, the journey of having a career and the difficulties are just as difficult today as they've always been, unfortunately. Slightly different, but nevertheless difficult, as we know. And I think by talking to other women and knowing how those women got out of that problem, or how they overcame that problem, helps you. And I think to be mentored means that you are taken through that journey and you understand that you can get through it.
Always been a strong advocate for women in business, and throughout your career have sought to inspire women to become entrepreneurs and leaders, and you're probably the most qualified to talk on this, because back in the 1960s and 70s, when having a career while raising a family was almost unheard of, you were doing it by not only having a career but heading up your own business. So for the young women listening to this, how does a young woman best prove herself and her potential when she enters the workforce or starts her career?
I think it's important to be enthusiastic, to be prepared to work hard and put your hand up when you think something different should be done, or that you need a promotion, or you have thought you have a good idea. Don't be afraid. Just push forward, and you'll get somewhere. I had lots of wonderful opportunities when I was working, simply by being enthusiastic about what I was doing. And I think that's a beginning when you're employed. And when you want to go out into your own business, go into a business that you really love. Because if you love it, you'll be good at it. If you don't love it, it means too much hard work and you'll get bored with it. So I think it's important to find a career that this is what I said to my children when they were growing up, all of them. Please don't do anything that you think you have to. You don't. Just do something that you think you'll love doing, and they are, which is really wonderful.
Is there anything young women can do to prepare themselves for leadership roles?
Leadership, I think, is something you're born with. I think if you like making up your mind and you like having a team following you. You discover it at school, I think, if you're a leader. I'm not sure that leadership role can be taught to you.
I don't know. It's interesting, Carla. I've spoken to people who have been described as born leaders, basically. So I can understand that in the sense that it comes very naturally to them for people like yourself. And others, whether it can be acquired, maybe that's up to the personality of the person involved, whether they're prepared to buy into it authentically. But, I mean, how would you describe your leadership style, and do you think it's changed over the years?
It has changed, but let me go back a little to my childhood. I had two brothers, much older, 7, 9 years older than I was. And because my mother was so busy, they looked after me. I followed them wherever they went. I did whatever they did. And I think that made me very, very strong. It helped me become a leader, I think, because it gave me adventure. I learned that I liked adventure. I liked trying new things. And I think you need to be a bit like that. If you want to be a leader, you need to be adventurous. You need to be prepared to take a risk. You need to just get on with it. That's the beginning of possible leadership training, if you need that.
Yeah.
Be adventurous, be daring. Don't be afraid, because a leader is never afraid. I've just read a biography of Garibaldi. He is the liberator of the Italian Republic. And he was such a leader, charismatic and daring. He risked his life ahead of everybody else. And I think you have to be a bit like that as a leader. Me as a leader in business, I would say I have learned to appreciate the talent of some people who are very, very good, and giving them enough space to grow, giving them the opportunity to try new things, to giving them responsibility for more and more. It's amazing, if women in particular, when you get a wonderful woman who's hardworking, she doesn't know she can be a leader until you give her the opportunity.
And that's the important thing, is the opportunity, to be granted that opportunity. Carla, I don't think it'd be too much of a stretch to say that your fashion shows have really set the standard in this country. So I must say I was a little surprised to read that you still have to overcome doubts when a new collection goes on shows. Why the doubts after so many years of continued success?
I think it's important to have doubts in creativity. I think people on stage have nervous, stage fright and things like that. It's until it's out in the marketplace, you're putting out yourself out there to be criticized or to be rejected. And it's a very daunting kind of experience. And I also believe in humility. I think if you're too arrogant, you can really go wrong in business and in design. I think it's important to understand the approval of people of what you do is very, very important, particularly customers.
This probably sounds a bit rude, but it's not meant to be. How, in such a fickle business as fashion, have you remained relevant and popular for over 55 years?
I've never thought of fashion as fickle. I think a lot of people find it so, yes. But I've always loved it. I've put all my love into it. And I think women understand that. They understand that what I do is that I care about what I do. And what I give them is something that I really believe in. And I think that's why they come back for more. And for as long as they come back, I will just keep on designing.
On a related topic, Carla, and again, it's something you've addressed in some detail previously. What do you say to working mothers and fathers who feel like they haven't been present enough for their children?
I learned the recipe to utilizing my time with my children better in the very early stages of when I was starting my new business after my divorce. My child was 1 year old, and I was worried that I would be neglecting him because I was working so hard. So a dear friend of mine said, "Why don't you talk to a child psychologist?" And I did. And she said, it's quality time. Even as a mother, you're not there all the time. You know, you have to do other things, housework and so on. So I think it's really important when you are together, make it a special time. And that's what I did, and it worked. So weekends was my children's time. During the week was work time. I had nannies to look after them all for 12 years, and they grew up being very independent like me. And now they're wonderful grown-up people who appreciate what I did, because they told me later on, in late teenagers, they said, "Mum, you weren't home, but you showed us the way to success, that hard work is the only way to succeed." And I thought that was magical. It came willingly. I didn't prompt it out of them. So, you know, and they are successful people individually. So I'm really proud of them.
How would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as someone who helped women achieve what they all have achieved by giving them a product that they could wear to give them confidence. I mean, I've had emails from women who claim they met their husband or they got a part on a stage. One woman who went to Russia, I gave her a couple of dresses and she said, "I only won because I was wearing your dress," which is a nonsense, of course. But all of that, I think, is what I'm most proud of.
That is the final question that I normally ask people is, and I've read the introduction to your book, so I think I may know the answer. What makes you most proud of yourself?
I think my children living through my career and surviving, that makes me very proud. And also helping women do what they really wanted to do. And maybe setting an example that if I can do it, you can. I think that is what I like to be remembered as.
And Carla, it would be remiss of me to leave you without pointing something out that would surprise absolutely everyone that knows me, and that is that you and I have a strong design connection to the same institution. You have had an enduring relationship with the Australian Brandenburg Orchestra as a designer and patron, and so have I. Well, when I say I do, perhaps I should clarify, my daughter was the costume designer on several performances of the Brandenburg Orchestra in 2017. So
fantastic.
There you go. You were probably casting a critical eye over her work at some stage, but that was quite interesting when I read that about you.
I think you should be proud of her, Danny, because designing, particularly for an orchestra, is another kind of venue. It's another kind of it's a different means. It's for staging. And it's a particular talent, and she's got it. I think it's wonderful.
It makes such. I didn't realise how much of a difference it made. She was designing the Brandenburg's first ever rendition of Handel's Messiah, and I'd seen it about a year previously in New York, and I didn't really enjoy it. But this one, for a start, everyone was in bare feet. To sort of a very earthing process and very long sort of white flowing garments they were wearing, and they moved and went into the audience. It was just made it a completely different experience for me compared to the New York one, and it was wonderful. It was amazing.
It added to the experience, doesn't it?
Added to the
It's
whole
a visual
experience.
Yeah, it's a visual experience as well as the sound.
Yeah.
I think that's why opera is so dramatically important. That, you have sound, you have music, and you have acting, and you're kind of involved. It's wonderful.
And that that obviously still gives you a thrill, Carla, doing that. Yeah, that's amazing.
It does.
Look, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure for me, and I know you'll continue to inspire, and I hope you take the opportunity to reflect on what you've meant to not just the fashion industry, but to the country as well. Carla Zampatti, thank you for being a part of Really Interesting Women.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Australia, for allowing women to succeed. I think we live in a wonderful country, and we're very privileged.
We certainly do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Richard.
I really appreciate that. Bye for now. Thank you for being a big part of Really Interesting Women. We'll have relevant links in the show notes to this episode. Head to our Instagram page at Richard Instagram for photos of the guests and the all-important link to all the episodes in our bio. If you know someone who might be a great guest, direct message me from Insta. Thank you to our production team, and I look forward to your company again very soon. Bye for now.